Hello, hello. Whoa, I don't know if I'm prepared for this. I hope so. Hello. Obviously, we've been doing a lot of videos on switching doohickeys. And now we're looking at something very special for a very special kind of pedal. I don't have coffee. Where's my coffee? For a very special kind of pedal nerd, or nerdella. The Decibel 11 pedal palette. Since I've been looking at loopers and switchers, this thing has always crossed my path. On message boards, in stores, I've always looked at it, and I was always like, what? Huh? No, it can't possibly do all that. What? Nah. So, at NAMM, the very nice people from Decibel 11 decided, hey, this guy is bald, so he has to get one. And we're looking at the Decibel 11 pedal palette. What I'm going to show you is a snapshot of the possibilities. This is for a very special kind of pedal nerd, one that wants to experiment, one that wants to play around with and explore the sonic possibilities of their pedal arsenal. Yes, I just made that shit up. I did not write that down. Let me explain the concept. It's a fully analog, true bypass switcher, and you can use it to store combinations of your 4 pedals. Simple. Of course, for 4 pedals, combinations, who cares? You could really just, hit those manually. You can swap groups of pedals around. It cannot do any kind of combination willy-nilly, so if you plan it correctly and creatively, there are possibilities to swap groups around. To show that, I would probably have to use a different group of pedals. The groups of pedals I picked here are so that I can show you certain functions versus other functions. So I made an executive decision to show you some stuff. Oh, I didn't do MIDI. Damn it, I didn't plug in MIDI, and that's why I have the DD500 on there. Well, I'm gonna tell you what MIDI, and you're just gonna trust me. So, right now I'm actually in manual mode. Let's call it manual mode. I don't know what they're calling it. I read the whole manual cover to cover because you have to. Kinda. I mean, you really have to dive into this. So, my setup is this D'Angelico EXDC going through the into the pedal palette. Then it's bypassing right now all 4 pedals and going out into a Hughes & Kettner Deluxe 20 on the beautiful clean sound that it has, which sounds like this. Actually, that is going downstairs into the basement into a Fender 112 cab, mic with a Sennheiser E609 coming up here into the Universal Audio Apollo. So, very nice, clean sound. And I can kick in the KHDK Gould Screamer very simply by hitting 1. I can kick in the Jupiter Fuzz by Walrus Audio by hitting 2. I can kick in the Boss DD500 with switch number 3. And the Strymon Dig with number 4. It's that simple. Now, with the setup I have here, it's kind of difficult to show useful applications for swapping. What we can do here is show useful applications for parallel, because it can do parallel. So, but let's try swapping things around. What I can do is, first of all, I'm gonna, no, I'm still in manual. I'm gonna show you how to program it first. Well, one way to do it is you pick a combination like this. Gould Screamer and delay. So if I want to save that, I'm gonna hit store. I'm gonna hold it till it lights up green. Yes, you can see that. And now it wants me to pick where I want it. Let's say I want this on patch number B. Okay. Bank 1, patch B. Click store edit again. That's it. Let's change that to, I want the Gourd Screamer and the dig, so delay number 4. I'm going to hold store edit again. I'm going to go and I want this on bank number 2, patch A. Hit store edit again and you're done. So that's really fairly simple. So right now, if I'm going to my preset mode, bank 1B, I will have this combination. Bank 2A. I have that combination, so fairly simple. And you've already seen how I go into preset mode. You push 1 and the swap at the same time, which you might be able to do with your foot. I actually haven't had it on the ground yet, I'm going to be honest. So, fairly simple. So let's play, do some things here. We're going to listen to the fuzz. Not too shabby. And the Gourd Screamer, which is a TS type pedal. What if we have the Gourd Screamer going into the fuzz? Not bad. What if I have the fuzz going into the Gourd Screamer? Well, very simple. You push this swap 1 and 2 and it simply flips them around, indicated by a yellow LED. Now, isn't that an interesting result? I actually do not know. I don't know what's going to happen. This has not been tested, which is why you're the first ones to hear it. You can see it doesn't change when it's just 1, but fuzz into Gourd Screamer. I actually like the swapped sound more. It's more interesting. I actually want a delay on this because that sounds kind of nice. It sounds a bit Eric Johnson-y, doesn't it? Eric Johnson-esque. I like that. If I now knew how to play like Eric Johnson. But that's cool. And you have it at the switch of a foot switchy thing. And obviously, let's just check this out. I can store this to A on bank 1. And then we're going to go and flip this around with this delay. I can store this to B on bank 1. And now see how, yes, 4 pedals could be seen as a limitation, which I would clearly argue when recommending a purchase of the pedal palette. On the other hand, I've just gotten a whole bunch of new sounds out of these two drive pedals. So that's kind of neat. What else can I do? Let's go back to my manual mode here. I can swap around 4 and 3 and 4. So right now 3 is the DD500, 4 is the dig. So of course, 2 delays, what's the point? But let's find out, because every delay from the DD500 now will be delayed by the dig. Let's flip them around. Well, actually not too much difference there, but I can guarantee you. So here I stop playing, and the dig delays are triggering this fade-in delay. If I swap this around and have the normal order, so you can clearly see how you're going to have a lot of creative options. Obviously, if it's not 2 delays, it might be a Flangeflunger into a delay into Flangeflunger, a looper into stuff, a stuff into looper. Now, obviously, which for this setup is completely ridiculous, I can swap these two for these two. So make these first and these second, which of course for delays, that's kind of stupid because it's going to sound, a delay into a drive is never a good idea. But you know what? We're just gonna check it out. Obviously, these can be a compression before or after a drive. These can be compression. They can be EQ. EQ before a pedal will push different frequencies into the pedal, whereas an EQ after a pedal will EQ the sound that the pedal made. Completely different and very cool. Let's take the dig, and we're gonna have the Ghoul Screamer. And we're gonna swap this section for this section. Gives you dirty delays. Because overdrive adds compression, the delays will be compressed and come up a lot more versus the overdrive going into the delay with its sound and the delay just adding. You know, you get the difference? So the delays are louder because I think there's compression happening in the KHDK. Actually, there very clearly is. It's actually not the compression I want this. So, of course, if I turn this one on. Let's see what happens. A lot of crazy shit can happen. So if you have, I see this more as if you have a group of pedals that are kind of cool, and you're like, well, it's modulation into compression, into an overdrive, into a delay, and especially like if you're in a studio situation, less like in a live situation, you're in a studio situation and you want to be very creative and maybe not even know what's gonna come out. You know, have this element of surprise. The pedal palette. I love this little logo here. It just says creativity. Very nice. So let me show you another feature. We're gonna try this with, let me see if I have trails in. Gonna try this. Yeah, obviously I didn't read something in the manual because it has a tails function, which you might have to set up in the main menu settings. Because right now I'm not hearing the tails. Yeah, I don't know. But there is a tails function, and it works. You can also set that up individually. I read something like this. Again, a big ass video that shows every single function might be overdoing it. But let me show you this. Gonna go into this one. Each of the loops can be parallel, which means it's gonna send into the pedal, but the output of the pedal is going to go directly around the rest of the pedals. So you can't pick which ones are in parallel. It's going to go directly around all the other pedals to the output. Which means I could define my Jupiter to go to the output by itself without going through the delays. Let's try this. Now actually, let's make one parallel, which means my KHDK will be going directly to the output. Now you have a level here where you can define the level. That's, you know, that's what the level knob does. Now I'm going to do the same thing, switch it to parallel. I'm going to do the same thing to the fuzz. So now because the Ghoul Screamer and the fuzz both are set to parallel, both will be getting the clean signal going straight to the output. So they're not going to affect each other. Now that's a cool sound because I've got the clarity of the Ghoul Screamer, but I've got the fizzly fuzziness of the fuzz, and I can mix them as I please. guitar's really evil. It's got total clarity in that tube screamery kind of sound, but the serious fuzziness in the background. I'm going to turn off the fuzziness and show you. Don't forget that the clean guitar signal is still there. Don't forget that. Because since the Ghoul Screamer is also parallel, a second signal will be taken around it to the output. So I actually have my clean guitar with some TS and some fuzz. So if I take the Ghoul Screamer out of the parallel, you'll see. Which also means if both of them are in parallel and I'm swapping around the order, it should make no difference. So let's check this out. So, if I'm right in sending the clean signal through, our delays should be clean. Now, how cool would that be? Kinda cool. So very clearly some unique sound possibilities that otherwise I don't even know how I would get those. I really have no idea. The pedal palette allows you to sculpt sounds that would be difficult to get in another way. Well, we know that, of course, I have to say this, that the ES8 can do parallel loops, but it operates differently. It mixes it in right after and it can have, it's a different beast. And this is, how am I gonna say this? Just a different way of operating. No menu structure. Yay! Now let me show you one other thing. I'm gonna put them in series again. Right now, the delays were affecting each other. So each of the delays was getting into each other, either the DD500 into the DIG or the DIG into the DD500. If I put them both into parallel, that is not going to happen. Now, both delays are getting the clean signal and are taking it directly to the output without affecting each other. That's kind of neat. I mean, they're totally different tempi. my mix or level knobs right there. Now the very nice thing is that these parallel loops going directly to the output have phase invert switches, because some of the pedals, for example the Joyo Quattro, as we've seen in the EES demo on parallel loops, has a little bit of a delay. It has a little bit of latency. It phase shifts the signal a tiny bit, which will result in your guitar sounding kind of hollow, and you definitely don't want that. So they circumvented that by giving each of the loops an individual phase switch, which is neat. And of course, swapping them around will not do anything, because they're not going into each other anymore. Let me go back to series operation so you can hear the difference. Now those 8-bitty kind of lo-fi delays from the DD500 will also be delayed in the dig. Now the dig will also be delayed in the DD500. But if I put them in parallel, it's a lot cleaner and a lot more precise. Clean delays now again, with a little bit of tubby screamy stuff behind them. This is for tinker, guys. This is for, like, you want to toy around with your shit. Very, very impressive. What else I'm going to show you? I'm going to show you that if you push, let me get this. You push both of these, and then you're in the settings menu, and then you have to push something to get to MIDI. You're going to have... No? No, I don't know what that does. So you push B, and then you're in the MIDI channel settings. So it has rudimentary MIDI capabilities. It can accept MIDI program change messages from 0 to 127 or 1 to 128, which means all the presets can be switched remotely, which is cool. So technically, you could have this behind your amp on stage, have a MIDI controller on stage, and switch all your presets that you have stored in the pedal palette. Don't forget that obviously you can also have your pedal palette. You can have several pedals in each loop, which would increase the amount of pedals you have, but then you have to manually turn those on and off. So the MIDI channel that you set here is a MIDI channel for some MIDI device like the DD500, and it works rather simple. What it does is it simply sends a MIDI program change message out on that channel, depending on what program you're on. Kind of like the Gig Rate G2. So if you're on Bank 2, B, that would be 4, 5, probably number 6. So 6 or 7 or something like this. So it will send a MIDI signal out to the DD500 on channel 2, but there's only one channel. That means all your MIDI devices, if they're daisy chained, will all switch to the same program, which means instead of telling the pedal palette what program you want the device to switch to, you simply put the preset you want on that number on your external device. It's just a different way of doing it, which allows for this switcher to be much more simple than something like an ES8, which will blow your head off if you work with it. It can do a billion things. It can do more than this. It's also more pricey. This clocks in at about $400. But this I can figure out in about 2 hours and get a good handle on what it does. After about a good 10 hours with the ES8, I still have not really understood too much. It's a very cool device. And well, here's my 2 cents. So, 2 cents, very simple. That's what I think. It is incredibly solidly built. It's not very high. It's not huge. It eats up some space on the pedal board, but not too much. It does not do external control switching, so it cannot switch your amp. So any of that stuff is not going to be built into your sound. It can do external MIDI switching. I kind of have a feeling that as a switcher that can switch MIDI and pedals, it's underpowered in terms of the amount of loops. Because for loops, frankly, if I just wanted as a switcher to remember my settings, I'll do that by hand, or I get a much simpler looper switcher to do that. I don't need to spend $400 to get that. What I see it as is a toy to experiment, get those soundscapes happening, get ideas going on. I mean, like the fuzz parallel with the tube screamery kind of pedal, and then going in, then still having the clean sound in there. That's the fun thing. The fuzz into the tube screamer, I would have never ever done that. I admit, I would have never ever thought that would be a good idea, and I would have never ever predicted what happens, that you get this Eric Johnson-y kind of tone. Of course, I'm gonna get shit for that because, oh, that's not how Eric Johnson. That's how I describe it, okay? Hold your horses. It is a great and very unique pedal for a very unique player and experimenter. And nothing else does what it does as quickly and solidly as it does it. The manual, Emmanuel cunt. That is such a lame joke. The manual is very well written. It takes you by the hand. It explains to you what all the functions do, why you want parallel, why you want all this, with nice little pictures inside. Very nicely done compared to the Boss ES8 manual, which you want to kill yourself with. You want to roll it up and beat yourself to death with it. Death with it. So, Decibel 11, the pedal palette, very, very, very nice looper switcher for a very specific user. But if you think you're that kind of guy, soundscapey guy, noisy kind of guy, you want to play around with the stuff, especially for studio situations, very cool, very cool. So check it out if you can check it out anywhere, or just order it. I also have the loop expander, which will be part of my Boss ES8 demo series. You'll see that soon at some point. I'm gonna go get some coffee. I'm tired, guys. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Decibel 11. Thank you, Laura, for hooking me up with this. I'm gonna have some fun with that in some sessions. Bye, guys.